The Twindle Contingency by Cheyenne Rosenbaum. Chapter 1. The Beginning of the End. Nice of you to join me, a tall-figured male said, hunched over the body of the young girl. It was dark and drizzling. She faded in and out of consciousness. She felt the figure cut the front of her shirt in half, just under her breasts, revealing the source of her pain. Her world went dark again. Blood. There was no moon in the sky. Or was it just cloudy? She could barely lift her head to see what was happening. Blood. Hers. Everywhere. She lost a lot of it and was starting to fade completely out of consciousness. "This isn't going to tickle," he said with a stern face, trying to keep the girl awake. The girl's now caretaker was hunched over by the fire. He was grinding something on a plate with a stone when he approached her. He was still a dark figure, but now he had bright sapphire eyes and long pointed ears. He took the freshly ground paste and pressed it into a pile of blood on her side. "I managed to stop the bleeding, but this should help against infection." With one fell swoop, the paste entered the wound. The pain was so intense that she let out a shrill scream and passed out. Dark again. And so she stirs. "Don't move too quickly. It's probably best if you just lie there," the caretaker said calmly. "You slept for a whole day. I don't want to worsen the wounds, but you should be good now. Would you mind telling me how you got here? I think I've earned it." The girl paused for a moment, catching her breath before she started. "Why would I tell you anything?" she groaned reluctantly. "Maybe because I saved your life?" he sighed coolly. She clenched her throat, spit out some blood, and started to recall the recent events from memory. "Fine. It was the year 9048, and humans were still extant. When Willa asked me to join the turning tide, I could see and feel her passion about the situation. My respect for her ran deep through my veins. I thought the signing of the flyer was innocent. Willow showed deviation from the norm from a young age. There has always been something different, something special about her. She seemed to have a heightened sense of awareness. This was probably because her parents were frugal. She didn't have any siblings, but she was the most outgoing Twindle I have ever met. If her parents were still alive, they would look down on her with disapproval and say, 'To revolt would undermine the Devonshire name. We are that of class and race, darling. You know that. You are not to worry about a thing. This issue will be taken care of by the militia.' However, since the human raid caused their demise, they might have become more open to the idea. Willa's life was a mixture, where she was a patriarchal private school, Morgana school, parochial private Morgana school during the day, and partied with the edgy, sketchy Joweesy Twindles behind abandoned buildings at night. Willa had a trusting way with people. Maybe it was her appearance that made her comforting. Her long blonde hair was always slicked back behind her ears like she had just taken a shower, but it was never actually wet. She used her family's stature to her advantage, to learn everything. She was as strong as she was smart, even though she didn't need to. She took an interest in the human sword-fighting style, fencing. Once a street rat of a Twindle tried to pickpocket her, so she proceeded to rough him up, or rather, dance circles around him with her rapier. She always tried to convince us that she was the same as us and not rich, but she had a certain way of dressing. As I said, she traveled to the human world often, and as a result she took an interest in the Arabian princess attire, as she called it. Even though she wouldn't admit it, her poise and grace were equally as fierce as her commitment to her people. It's quite sad, actually. She used to be rather obsessed with the humans, finding them amusing and intriguing. She would have been the first one to stand up and protect them. The unfortunate turn of events was, well, unfortunate. Willa's composure is the opposite of mine. I'm generally a quiet woman, and my brothers would describe me as broody. Tony, Grove, and Kip. They aren't my blood brothers, but they are as real as they come. We shared everything, and always had each other's backs. Out on the streets, you need to have friends. Grove was the oldest, and usually in charge of whatever situation was presented at the time. This was necessary, especially for Kip, because every time Kip screwed up, someone had to scold him. Kip's own personality was shapeless at best, always looking for Grove's approval. What he didn't know was that Grove was proud of him. He just wanted Kip to be safe. Raina was an aberration or a stain on the face of Twindle society. as the Moganas would call it. No matter the species, race seems to always be a touchy subject. Humans are a primitive group, not much more than that of wild apes that they've evolved from. What they are lacking in beauty they make up for in the bronze of their machinery. If there is one thing they can do, it's make things up from steel and oil. They are also rather plain and hairy. They come in several different shades, but they are all generally look the same. It would be kind to say that they're ugly, but I digress. The Twindles, on the other hand, were prodigal. Our bodies are hairless, excluding that of our heads. Dizziness set in. Did you have any water? The girl asked through clenched teeth. He moved closer to gently pour some in her mouth. The most important physical aspect that separates us from the humans is our markings. They differ from twindle to twindle. The exotic spirals and swirls are deeply ingrained in our bodies. They link to our origin stories, which is more or less a bedtime story one might tell a child. These markings come in two colors, green and purple, but only our kind can see the difference. Onlookers just see them as black, as you can see, since I'm pretty sure you're not a twindle. It's quite a pity, actually. The Mogana are green. They are the upper caste, managing the government, telling us what we can and can't do. And over millennia of evolution, they are bred that color. Due to society's isolation, the Jawisi, myself, have purple markings. It wasn't always this way. There used to be twindles of all different colors, but they have all been bred out. It is also believed that no Mogana can mate with a Jawisi and produce a living child, nor would anyone attempt putting a child into a world like that, denoting a different. You are what you are, and that's the way it is. The only positive that came out from this was that both Mogana and Jawisi have united against the humans. The Mogana to fund and organize, and the sheer numbers of the Jawisi to fight. The Jawisi make up 2/3 of the whole Twindle population. Unfortunately, it could only be accomplished because of the humans' uncalled-for actions. We all wish there was a more qualified way of accomplishing this, but as I said, millennia of social isolation. The reasons why we were against the humans seemed ambiguous at first, but all in all, it was very out of the blue when the humans started to attack. The girl's mention of the humans' attack brought her mind to the memory when it all began. "Stop looking at that weapon as though it's a toy," Grove upbraided Kip, shoving his shoulder. Kip resheathed his short sword. Grove pushed a strand of light brown hair behind his ear. Generally, he kept it neat and brushed, hanging down on his shoulders. His very broad shoulders, making him someone you can count on in a backyard tussle. Being the responsible one, he would try to lead by example. Grove's motto was, "Even if we live in the streets, we don't have to look like or smell like we do." This made him the catch of the faction. However, at the moment, he had his hair tied back in a sloppy bun as it soaked up the sweat from the day's travel. Coming back to reality, the girl continued her story. "We were meeting up at the council to commensurate the humans of their unforgiving actions. Last time, the youngest of the king's sons, Geraldo, a Mogana, held in higher regards than at least 20 Jawisi, went on a scouting mission to communicate with the humans to settle the dispute with words. Seeing how we were all gathered together and told to bring our finest weapons, I had a suspicion it went poorly. The king's previous harangue almost put the entire audience to sleep, including high guards and select council members. I had hoped that Geraldo's delivery of news would be more engaging than his father's." After the long day's trek on horseback, the sight of the kingdom raised relief in the girl's legs. When Kip got up off his horse, he was standing tall, but the quivering in his legs belied his attitude. Since the kingdom was a major source of water, Tony poured out the rest of his water on his face. An action just days ago would have been unwise. This eased his warm brow and was but a moment of relief from the squelching heat. "Right now, we do not know where we will be at the end of the day. We can only hope for the best," Willis kindly stated. Kip was the only one to spring into action by crossing the gates. His whimsical soul galvanized the rest of the group to move forward.